The stars burned cold above the silent edge of the Orion Arm, and in that darkness, a council of alien rulers gathered around a vast circular chamber of silver and crystal. Their voices echoed with arrogance as they laughed at the memory of the warning Earth had sent almost a decade ago. Humanity had demanded peace, demanded respect, and had promised consequences if the galaxy ignored them. To the mighty empires, those words were nothing more than noise from a young and fragile species. They dismissed the message, stored it in archives, and moved on to more important matters. Now, as strange whispers moved across the border worlds, and unmarked fleets were seen drifting through empty star systems, unease began to ripple through their high seats of power. But still, they told themselves there was no reason to fear the humans. They were just another loud species that would learn its place. In the dark of space, far from their meeting halls, signals pulsed across the void. It started as faint static. In the relay stations of the outer colonies, little bursts of distortion that technicians thought were solar flares or background radiation. Yet, as days passed, the signals grew stronger and stranger. They were precise, sharp, carrying patterns that could not be natural. A frightened engineer on a mining moon recorded one of the bursts and enhanced it, only to hear what sounded like a human voice counting down numbers in English. He reported it, but his supervisor silenced him, calling it a glitch. Hours later, his entire station went offline without explanation. The alien fleets patrolling the frontier began to notice something else. Long-range sensors picked up shadows in space contacts that should not exist. Whole squadrons would sweep through sectors, but their scanners returned false readings. Ghost ships flickering on the edges of radar. Captains grew restless. Reports were sent up the chain of command, and once again, they were laughed off. The humans had no fleets strong enough to threaten the empires, the admiral said. They were weak, untested, without allies. And yet in the cold dark, the silence of missing patrols grew too heavy to ignore. In orbit of a gas giant, an alien commander named Drucker watched as his cruiser's crew struggled to recalibrate their sensors. They had detected an object moving at impossible speed through the outer rings. Before he could order a pursuit, the object was gone, leaving behind nothing but disrupted energy trails. His science officers insisted it was a meteor, but Drucker remembered the old message, the one from Earth. He remembered the human voice speaking through the galaxy's networks, warning the Council that if the galaxy continued to enslave and slaughter weaker races, then one day humanity would stand against them. That voice had been filled with steel, with a kind of cold certainty that no one else took seriously. For the first time, Drucker wondered if perhaps the humans had not been bluffing. Back on Earth, under skies lit by the blue glow of orbital shipyards, the truth was already unfolding. Human warships that had never been revealed to outsiders were rising into space, one after another, their black hulls swallowing the starlight. These were not the clumsy ships shown in trade agreements or diplomatic visits. These were war machines built in silence, forged in secret, designed for one purpose only, to fight without mercy. Their engines burned cold, their weapons were hidden. Their armor carried new alloys that no alien had ever tested. The crews boarded without celebration, without speeches. They carried no banners, no songs, only quiet determination. The galaxy had ignored Earth's warning, and now the time for patience was over. On the rim of a forgotten system, a listening post manned by insectoid sentinels picked up a new signal unlike any before. It was not static, not a glitch, not a ghost. It was a broadcast, clear and sharp, cutting through the void on every frequency. It carried only one line in a language most of the galaxy had never bothered to learn. Yet every translator corps in every ship and station deciphered it in seconds, and every officer who heard it felt their blood freeze. The message was simple. We warned you. The panic was immediate. Orders flew between outposts and fleets. Admirals demanded answers, demanded to know where the transmission had come from, but no one could trace it. Some said it came from the human homeworld. Others whispered it had come from every corner of space at once, as if the humans had already buried transmitters in the bones of the galaxy. What none of them realized was that the broadcast was not a warning anymore. It was a declaration. Ours. After the signal, strange things began to happen across the frontier. A defense station orbiting a red dwarf lost contact with its own drone network before its reactors went critical and exploded. A convoy of warships vanished without ever sending a distress call. A supply hub lit up with alarms as unknown ships passed through its system at impossible speeds, gone before the hub's cannons could even fire. The galaxy's commanders, used to war being loud and brutal, could not understand what they were seeing. Humanity was not marching to war with banners raised. Humanity was moving like a knife in the dark. And yet, in the silence between attacks, one truth became clear. The old warning was no longer a memory. It was here, unfolding before their eyes. The galaxy had ignored Earth's words, and now something vast was stirring from the shadows. The signal had been sent, and for the first time in centuries, the mighty empires felt fear. The alien fleet drifting along the frontier had grown restless. Dozens of patrol ships hovered in formation above a barren world, their scanners sweeping the cold emptiness. For weeks, ghost signals had haunted them, shadows of ships that vanished. When approached, strange distortions on radar, and supply convoys that never returned. The commanders told themselves it was nothing more than technical errors or pirates. But deep in their minds, every captain feared the same thing. The humans were here, and they were not bluffing. At first, there was silence. The stars shone like cold fire, the void stretching into endless black. Then one of the patrol cruisers picked up a new contact. It appeared suddenly, without any approach, as if it had materialized from nothing. Its shape was jagged and unfamiliar, its hull darker than the void itself, absorbing every ray of starlight. Alarms screamed across the fleet as the patrol commander demanded identification. No response came. Instead, the alien crews felt the weight of something unseen pressing down on them. A silent awareness that the predator had finally stepped out of the shadows. The aliens shouted across channels, warning the intruder to retreat, to stand down, to obey the laws of the council. Their voices carried arrogance at first, but as seconds passed with no reply, that arrogance thinned into panic. Finally, the human ship moved. Its engines glowed with a cold blue light. No flare, no thunder, just silent power. Then the void erupted. With a flash too fast to track, the human ship fired. Alien shields flared once, then shattered like glass. The lead cruiser disintegrated in a storm of white fire, its hull breaking apart before its crew even realized they were under attack. Panic tore through the formation as the alien fleet scrambled to respond, weapons charging, engines burning to retreat.
Ow!
But it was too late. The humans had come to fight. They had no intention of letting anyone escape. Another human vessel appeared on the far side of the system, then another. Black warships sliding out of stealth, their weapon systems already hot. They moved with precision, coordinated like hunters who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Alien destroyers fired desperately, their cannons lighting up space, with streams of plasma, but the humans did not meet them head-on. They slipped between shots, bending trajectories with impossible maneuvers, striking with brutal efficiency. Each time they fired, an alien warship vanished from existence. The alien commander, Drakkar, who had once doubted his fears, now watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. He screamed for reinforcements, sending signals across every channel. But as his message left the system, the humans jammed it, crushing communications with invisible waves. His ships fought alone, trapped in a cage of silence. In minutes, a fleet that had once guarded the frontier with pride was reduced to scattered wreckage drifting through burning debris. One surviving frigate attempted to run. Engines flaring at maximum speed, fled into the dark, hoping to escape the slaughter. Humans let it run, chasing it at a distance. Just as it reached the edge of the system, when its crew thought they had escaped, the void ahead of them cracked open. A massive human dreadnought appeared from warp, its hull larger than any alien design, bristling with weapons never seen before. The frigate's captain begged for mercy, his voice shaking, his people screaming in the background. The dreadnought answered with silence and one shot that ended them. Word of the massacre spread despite the jamming. Escape pods drifted into nearby systems, carrying survivors who spoke in broken voices about ships that killed without warning, without hesitation. They told stories of black hulls that swallowed starlight, of weapons that bypassed shields like they were nothing, of humans who fought not like soldiers, but like executioners. Entire planets listened in horror. The galaxy had mocked Earth's warning, and now they saw what ignoring it had unleashed. On Earth, in the war rooms beneath the oceans, admirals watched the battle reports come in with calm faces. They spoke little, their eyes locked on tactical displays that showed alien fleets being erased like chalk wiped from a board. This was not victory to them, it was justice. For years they had begged the Council to stop their endless wars, to end slavery, to stop burning weaker species to ash. The Council had refused, had laughed, had treated Earth like an insect. Earth had answered, and its answer was fire. In the days that followed, human fleets moved deeper into alien space. They struck shipyards, raided fuel depots, and crippled command centers with surgical precision. No wasted shots, no mercy, no survivors to regroup. Every strike carried the same message written in flames across the stars. We warned you. Now you pay the price. The galaxy reeled in shock. Entire empires that had once thought themselves untouchable now whispered in fear. The humans were not fighting for territory, nor for conquest. They were fighting to make sure no one would ever ignore them again. And as the ashes of the first great fleet drifted across the frontier, the galaxy realized that Earth had not come to fight a war. Humanity had come to end one. The first clash should have been a warning, but the galaxy refused to believe the truth. At first, alien rulers dismissed the reports of shattered fleets as exaggeration, lies told by survivors who had lost their courage. They said no human fleet could destroy whole squadrons in minutes. No young species could match the combined power of ancient empires. But denial is a fragile shield, and soon it cracked beneath the weight of reality. Wreckage drifted across frontier systems, and burning debris falling into alien atmospheres, while frightened civilians recorded the silent rain of metal on their skies. Escape pods filled with broken survivors were recovered by neutral stations. Their words spread like fire. Humans had come. Humans had struck. And humans had not stopped. Inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the rulers argued louder than ever. Their voices filled the crystal dome with anger and fear. Some demanded an immediate alliance to crush Earth before it grew bolder. Others whispered of surrender, of appeasement, their faces pale with dread. But pride still burned in many hearts, and pride is harder to kill than ships. They are nothing, one warlord shouted across the chamber. Just one planet, one fleet. We will gather 10,000 ships and erase them. His words stirred cheers among some, but for others they rang hollow. Everyone remembered the signal. We warned you. Meanwhile, humanity did not waste time. The fleets moved like shadows, appearing where no one expected. Shipyards that had operated for centuries vanished in fire. Supply convoys burned in silence before they could even call for help. In some systems, alien citizens woke to find human. Drones hovering above their skies, transmitting one sentence across every channel. This is the price of ignoring Earth. Fear spread faster than war. Merchants refused to send their ships into frontier space. Soldiers deserted their posts, unwilling to face an enemy they could not see coming. Whole colonies evacuated, fleeing deeper into empire cores, leaving behind empty worlds haunted only by silence and wreckage. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy's great empires felt small. Their fleets were massive, their armies countless, but against the humans, they moved like lumbering giants. Always one step behind, always bleeding more ships, more lives, more hope. In one sector, an alien admiral named Karthus tried to rally her forces. She had fought countless wars, seen entire worlds burn, and believed no enemy could truly frighten her. But when her sensors showed human ships entering the system, her confidence cracked. She had prepared ambushes, laid traps with minefields and stealth frigates hidden in asteroid belts, yet the humans avoided them with ease, as if they already knew every plan, every position. Their fleets fired everything they had, turning the void into a storm of plasma and missiles. For a moment it seemed the humans would be forced back. Then the humans answered. Their ships moved like predators unleashed, their weapons cutting through shields as though they were made of air. Entire cruisers vanished with each volley, their screams echoing across Cums. Carthus ordered retreat, but her orders never reached her ships. The humans jammed the channels. One by one her vessels were silenced, leaving only fire drifting in the void. In her final moment, as her command ship broke apart, she understood what so many were beginning to realize. This was not war as the galaxy knew it. This was extermination of fleets, deliberate and merciless. Humanity had no interest in stalemates or negotiations. They wanted the galaxy to learn a lesson carved in blood. Back on Earth, ordinary citizens watched the war unfold through brief announcements and hushed military broadcasts. There were no celebrations, no cheering crowds. The humans did not see this war as glory. They saw it as necessity, a grim duty forced upon them by a galaxy that had mocked their warnings and preyed on the weak. Mothers sent sons and daughters into space with quiet tears, knowing they might never return. Fathers sat in silence, listening to the distant hum of factories forging weapons that would never stop. For humanity, this war was not about conquest. It was about survival, about making sure no empire would ever again think of Earth as prey. As weeks passed, the galaxy grew desperate. Alliances that had hated each other for centuries now tried to unite. Old enemies shook hands, building the largest fleets they had ever commanded. Plans were drawn in hidden bunkers, desperate strategies to corner the humans, to strike back with overwhelming force. But deep inside, fear gnawed at their hearts. Every time they tried to predict humanity's moves, they failed. Every time they set a trap, the humans avoided it. It was as if Earth's fleets were guided by a mind that could see through the future. Among civilians, rumors spread like wild storms. They said humans had built ships that could turn invisible, that their weapons tore through matter itself, that their admirals commanded machines smarter than entire councils. Some whispered darker things, that humans fought with hate born from centuries of silence, that they had trained only for this moment, that they would not stop until the galaxy bent its knee. Whether true or not, the rumors only deepened. The fear. In the great palace of the Sorial Empire, the Emperor himself stared at the reports delivered by trembling aides. Whole fleets gone, sectors lost, allies demanding help that could not be given. He had ruled for 3 centuries, his empire spanning hundreds of systems, but for the first time he felt powerless. He whispered to his council, "Perhaps we should have listened," but it was too late. Humanity was no longer sending warnings. They were delivering consequences. The galaxy had ignored Earth, and now the empires themselves were beginning to break. The galaxy had never seen such desperation. From the farthest frozen moons to the burning cores of ancient empires, every ruler sent ships, soldiers, and weapons into one single plan, the last chance to stop Earth. Pride was gone now. Only survival remained. Fleets that had once fought each other for centuries gathered side by side. Bitter rivals buried their hatred beneath the fear of extinction. At last, the galaxy united, not for justice or peace, but because of a single enemy that moved. Like death itself, in the empty stretch of the Vera expanse, the greatest fleet in history waited. Thousands of warships hung in formation across the void, their engines glowing like a wall of suns. Colossal dreadnoughts stood at the center, bristling with cannons the size of mountains. Around them swarms of cruisers and destroyers spread in tight ranks, while clouds of fighters circled like metal insects. It was a sight meant to inspire courage, but instead it only deepened the silence in every command deck. No one said it aloud, but everyone remembered how smaller fleets had been torn apart in minutes.
Oh.
Now, they were about to discover if even this armada could survive. The admirals who commanded this united fleet whispered among themselves. Some believed the humans would finally retreat once they saw the sheer scale of power arrayed against them.
Us.
For ever at our and our for Besef Bobum sat for the web for but hidden behind their brave words was a truth none could admit. They were afraid. For all their firepower, they did not know how to fight an enemy that never followed the rules of war. The trap was simple. Bait the humans into the expanse, cut off every route of escape, and crush them with overwhelming numbers. Mines were scattered across hidden channels. Jamming fields were ready to lock down communications. Every detail had been planned with precision. All they needed was for the humans to walk into the cage, and then the humans came. The first sight was almost disappointing. It's only a handful of ships slipped from the void, black silhouettes against the stars. They looked small against the galactic armada, fragile compared to the towering dreadnoughts. A murmur of relief passed through the alien fleets. Perhaps the humans were not so dangerous after all. Perhaps the legends of their firepower had been inflated by fear. The admirals barked orders to advance, confident they would crush this small vanguard before the real battle even began. But the humans did not retreat. They did not hesitate. Instead, their ships spread into formation, slow and deliberate, as if they had expected this moment all along. For a heartbeat, the galaxy's armada hesitated, unsure why such a small force would dare face them. Then the humans fired. The first volley cut through space like lightning. Alien shields flared and collapsed, dreadnought plating split open, and entire destroyer lines disappeared into flame. Panic rippled through the ranks as admirals shouted for a counterattack. Thousands of ships opened fire, filling the void with blinding energy storms. The humans should have been erased in seconds. But when the blasts cleared, the black warships were gone. They reappeared inside the formation. What followed was chaos. Human vessels moved faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen, darting between cruisers and striking at their weak points with perfect precision. Alien dreadnoughts tried to turn their massive cannons. But by the time they aligned their weapons, the humans had already vanished again. Every second another warship died, another squadron silenced. The galaxy's greatest fleet was breaking, part before it even understood the battle. On the bridge of his command ship, Admiral Sarith of the Care Dominion watched the horror unfold. His strategy was failing, his ships burning one by one. He demanded answers. How were the humans avoiding their traps, their mines, their jamming fields? Then the realization struck him with cold clarity. The humans had known about the trap before it was even set. Every ambush, every formation, every hidden weapon Earth's fleets were always one step ahead. Sarith understood too late. The humans had not walked into a trap. They had lured the galaxy into theirs. At the heart of the chaos, the true human weapon revealed itself. Vast carriers uncloaked in the shadows, releasing endless swarms of drones, each one armed with weapons tuned to pierce shields at microscopic gaps. They moved like storms of steel insects, overwhelming fighters, tearing apart capital ships piece by piece. Warre has directed them with cold logic, striking weaknesses faster than any living commander could think. The galaxy's admirals screamed for order, but their voices were drowned beneath the sound of fleets dying. Hours passed, though to the survivors it felt like minutes. The void was filled with wreckage, with burning husks drifting through silent darkness. Thousands of ships, reduced to shattered metal, thousands more fleeing into the black in blind panic. The largest fleet in history, the galaxy's last hope, was gone. When the survivors limped away, they carried with them stories that chilled even the bravest soldiers. They spoke of human fleets that vanished and reappeared like ghosts, of weapons that carved through matter itself, of drones that fought without mercy, never hesitating, never tiring. But more terrifying than the weapons was the strategy. The humans had expected everything, had read every plan, as if they could see the battle before it began. For the galaxy, the turning point had come. No alliance, no empire, no armada could stop Earth. The war was no longer about holding ground or defending borders. It was about survival. and even that hope was fading. The galaxy had gambled everything on the Great Armada, and it had been shattered. The wreckage of their pride drifted across the Vera expanse like a graveyard. Thousands of ships reduced to twisted steel and silent ghosts. Survivors fled into the black, carrying tales of human fleets that fought like predators and A's that commanded storms of steel. Those who escaped would never forget the sight of dreadnoughts breaking apart like toys, of fleets reduced to ashes, in minutes. The galaxy had believed that unity would save them, that sheer numbers could crush Earth. Now they knew the truth. Nothing could stop humanity anymore. The humans did not pause to celebrate. They did not raise flags or sing songs of victory. Their fleets moved deeper into alien space, silent and relentless. For centuries, the galaxy had known war as a spectacle of destruction, bombardments that lit up skies, fleets that clashed with thunder. Humanity's war was something different. It was quiet, it's precise, ruthless. Their fleets did not waste energy on civilian targets, did not burn cities for terror. They struck at the core of power shipyards, orbital defense grids, supply chains, military stations. Every strike crippled the empires where it hurt most, stripping away their ability to resist. It was war as execution, clean and merciless. On the world of Zareth Prime, a proud capital of the surreal empire, citizens awoke to find human ships hanging in their skies.
Ow.
No bombardment shook the ground. No firestorm fell upon their towers. Instead, their planetary defense grid simply died, systems collapsing under invisible hacks delivered by drones that had slipped through orbital shields. Panic spread through the cities as people looked upward and saw black holes drifting above them, silent giants against the sun. Then the broadcasts began. Every screen, every comm channel, every holographic feed lit up with a simple human face. An admiral in a dark uniform, his voice cold and steady. "We warned you. You did not listen. Now you will learn." There were no demands for surrender, no promises of safety. Just a reminder that Earth's warning had been ignored, and this was the cost. The ships did not fire. They did not need. 2. The silence itself was enough to break the will of billions. Other worlds were not spared. On the mining colonies of the Vexor Dominion, workers watched helplessly as their skies filled with swarms of drones. The drones did not attack them, but dismantled orbital defenses with surgical precision, tearing apart cannons and stations like scavengers, stripping bone. In the great trade hub of Herolith, merchants screamed as the system's fleet vanished in a storm of human rail fire. Within an hour, the hub was defenseless. Its markets silent, skies filled with black warships that broadcast the same message. This is what happens when mercy is mocked. Some alien leaders tried to resist. They sent what ships they had. Left to defend their capitals, to stand as shields for their people. But every time they rose to fight, the humans broke them with cold efficiency. Fleets lasted minutes, ground defenses lasted seconds, and resistance only invited more ruthless precision. Soon, the leaders stopped giving orders to fight. Instead, they ordered their soldiers to retreat, to hide, to do anything to avoid annihilation. But by then, it was too late. Across the galaxy, fear became despair. Civilians packed into shelters, praying that humanity would pass them by. Entire populations begged their rulers to surrender, to plead for mercy. But mercy had already been offered, long ago, in the form of Earth's warning. That warning had been mocked, laughed at, dismissed as the arrogance of a young world. Now those same words echoed across every street, every home, every palace. "We warned you." In the grand palace of the Kralon Empire, the Empress herself stood. On her balcony, staring at the black shapes drifting above her world. They did not fire, did not destroy her city. They simply waited, like predators watching prey collapse from fear. She turned to her council with trembling hands. "They could have killed us all," she whispered, "but they chose not to. That is worse." For the first time in her reign, the Empress felt powerless, stripped of every illusion of control. Humanity did not want their planets, their wealth, or their submission. Humanity wanted them broken, Meanwhile, within the command centers of Earth, the war was unfolding exactly as planned. Human admirals spoke in quiet voices, their faces grim as they tracked the collapse of empires. There was no celebration in their eyes. This was not a war of conquest. This was a punishment. A message written in blood and silence. Never again would the galaxy dismiss Earth. Never again would they enslave or slaughter the weak while pretending to be untouchable. Humanity was making sure of it. For the empires, there was no way back now. They had burned the bridge to peace when they ignored Earth's warning. They had laughed when humans spoke of consequences. Now those consequences surrounded their worlds, silenced their fleets, and shattered their pride. The galaxy could not undo what had been done. They could not erase the memory of fleets burned in minutes, of dreadnoughts breaking apart under human guns, of planets forced to watch silent warships drift above their skies. The war was not ending. It was only entering its next stage. Humanity was no longer asking for respect. They were enforcing it. And as the stars filled with the shadows of their black warships, every empire, every ruler, and every civilian understood one terrible truth. There was no path to mercy anymore. There was no chance to undo their arrogance. There was no way back. The galaxy was silent. Where once fleets roared and empires boasted of their power, now only wreckage drifted through the void. Worlds that had glowed with trade and war were quiet, their skies filled with the black shadows of human ships. Endless arguments of the council chambers had stopped. No voices rose to mock Earth anymore. No rulers dared to laugh. The galaxy had been broken, and in the silence of that breaking, a new order had begun. Human fleets moved like watchful sentinels across the stars. They did not conquer worlds, did not demand tribute, did not raise their flag on alien soil. Instead, they enforced their will with presence alone. A black warship appearing in orbit was enough to silence riots, to crush resistance, to remind entire populations that Earth was watching. The humans did not need to speak. Their silence carried more weight than all the threats the galaxy had. Ever-known, alien leaders who had once commanded thousands of systems now sat in council before human envoys, their voices shaking as they agreed to terms they could not refuse. The terms were simple, spoken in the same cold words repeated on every world. No more slavery, no more genocide, no more wars of conquest. The galaxy had lived for centuries by preying on the weak, but those days were over. The law into the stars with fire and steel, no empire dared to disobey. On the world of Veronis, a young alien citizen stood in a crowd, staring up at the sky where a lone human dreadnought drifted in orbit. Its silhouette was massive, a silent guardian or executioner depending on how one chose to see it. Around him, people whispered in fear and awe. Some cursed Earth for its cruelty. Others whispered prayers of gratitude that at last someone had ended the endless wars. For generations, they had been told the galaxy was ruled by the strong and the weak must suffer. But now, for the first time, the weak had a protector, one that protected not with kindness, but with the sharp edge of fear. Inside Earth's command, halls the admirals sat in silence, watching as the galaxy bent beneath their shadow. None of them smiled. There was no joy in this war, no triumph in the suffering they had unleashed, but they knew it had been necessary. Humanity had asked for peace and had been mocked. Humanity had warned of consequences and had been ignored. Now humanity had given the galaxy its answer, and that answer was final. The warships remained in orbit over the greatest capitals, reminders of Earth's reach. They did not fire unless provoked, but the memory of what they had done was more powerful than any bombardment. Alien soldiers who once laughed at the idea of human strength now lowered their eyes when human envoys passed. Rulers who once spoke with arrogance now bent their heads in silence. The galaxy had not been conquered by Earth, it had been forced to accept Earth's law in the shattered remains of the old council chamber, where once laughter had mocked the humans. The surviving rulers gathered again. The seats were fewer. Now, many empires gone, many leaders dead. At the center of the chamber, a human envoy stood in silence. He spoke only once. his words echoing through the hollow hall. You ignored mercy. We will not ignore fear. This is the order now. No one argued. No one dared. Beyond the halls of power, whispers spread among the common people. They called the humans monsters, saviors, executioners, guardians. No one agreed on what Earth truly was, but all agreed on one truth: humanity could not be resisted. Even in silence, their warships ruled the stars. For the humans themselves, the war had left scars. Soldiers returned home with eyes that carried the weight of the galaxy's fear. Families mourned those who had been lost in battles, fought without recognition, without songs of glory. Humanity had not fought for empire, for territory, or for wealth. They had fought to be heard, to be respected, to never again be dismissed. As prey, and though the galaxy now bent before them, the price of that respect was a burden they would carry forever. On the edge of the galaxy, in the quiet shadow of a dying star, a lone human warship drifted in silence. Its crew looked out into the endless dark, knowing that somewhere, in countless systems, billions of lives now lived under the weight of Earth's warning. They had not brought peace, not truly. They had brought order, carved from fear. Perhaps that was the only way. The galaxy had ignored Earth's warning once. It would never ignore it again.